it's very easy to be allowed. It's very easy. And well, I just want to say that the world is a very messed up place, and that each and every city is very much messed up. That inside every city, there's going to be good people and there's going to be bad people. And that if you want to, how would you say it, be able to be allowed, that it's easy, that materialistic items, objects, they're out there. Jobs in which you can easily come up, in which you could easily say, you know what, I got a job that pays very well. I have, you know, a friend that can get me this job, or etc., etc., etc. It's very easy to, you'll run into corruption. And if you, how would you say it, go along with that corruption, it's very easy to, you know, it's harder to remain away from all that corruption, from all that, how would you say it, pyramid of sinners. I read this one book. It's called Pyramid Climbers. You know, there's pyramids out there of sinners. It's very easy to. It's very easy to, how would you say it, become part of one of them pyramids. You know, there's orgy societies, there's homosexuals, there's older females, what they call cougars. There's all types of things out there in each and every city. There's homosexuals. There's all types of things out there. All types of different people that create their own little pyramid, their own little society. And if you're not aware of it, you know, sooner or later you're gonna become aware. It's just like high school, where there's the gothics, there's the preps, there's the cheerleaders, there's the football players, there's the gangsters. There's in life, each and every city is very much the same. It might take you a minute, it might take you a couple of years, you know, to actually focus on what is happening in the city you live in. It might take you some time. People uh, tend to hide. Tend to hide. But at the end of the day, you know, you'll realize, at the end of the day, after a certain amount of time, you'll realize, hey, you know what? There's like this order, like there's this separation of people. There's these societies. There's these societies that tend to hide, and sometimes they hide even inside the churches. They hide, you know, and how would you say it? What I'm trying to say is that it's easy to, that if you want to be allowed, that there's these pyramids, that there's these societies that for some reason or another have that, how would you say it, have that financial, that economic status that will allow you. They have that, how would you say it, sometimes they're in the government, and they can allow you. They can, make you part of their little pyramid, of their little group, of their society. And if you want to be part of it, it's easy to be able to. It's easy. But persevering and saying no to the enemy, saying no to sin, it might complicate life, you know, at time. It might make things difficult, you know. It might, how would you say it, put you through tests, you know. But at the end of the day, if you persevere, if you remain around positive people, around Christians, if you remain, you might go through struggles. You might go through this and you might go through that. But at the end of the day, you're going to be allowed in one way or another. Inside a city structure, you know, you can find a way to stay away from the sin and the corruption. You could find a way to persevere, to maintain, you know, a Christian life. You can find a way, you know. It's hard. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes there's problems. Sometimes, you get, like, I have gotten physically hurt. Like right now, all of this hurts right now. Sometimes it's hard, to keep a job. Sometimes it's hard to find somebody to allow you to have a certain amount of have a certain job at a certain place. There's this garden. There's this a place here in Mexico. It's called a vivero, but in the United States, well, they're called garden sections, right? There's this place where they sell plants, and the guys there, they have a very easy job. I would like to be there, but unfortunately, I don't have the contact. I don't have the 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 way to be able to get a job like that, where you have a job and you don't have to worry about looking for work. I work. I have, how would you say it, small jobs that I work, that I have, and that's how I get the income that I do receive. But these people, I observe them. There's some people that, here in Mexico, there's some people that they get to their job, they do a small maintenance, they clean a little bit for about 30 minutes, if that, and they sit down all day. They're vendors. And there's a lot of jobs, that are like that they get to their shop, they open their curtain, they clean, they sweep, they mop, and then they sit down all day to receive their clientele. If they get any, because a lot of the stores, they don't make much. They barely make enough to get by, but they get by. And guess what? Like I said, they don't do nothing. They sit down all day. And so you would think that they would study, or they would, do something while they're there sitting down. But these people, they pull out their cell phone and they're just flipping through videos and wasting time. And so, what I'm trying to say is that it's easy to be allowed, but that these jobs that are easy, I feel that most of them are given because they follow the corruption, because they have certain contacts, because of this and because of that, you know and what I'm trying to say is that if you persevere, god you know god and righteousness will somehow allow you, because like I said, sometimes I sit down to observe these people, and well, and the jobs where they have a little bit of more, how would you say it, work, you know they do the same thing. They take it easy. They see somebody passing by, selling this and selling that. you know there are some places where they pass by almost every day. Every day they buy the same thing, or they buy something similar. you know Vendors that are passing by, you know and they live a completely different life, at least to what I'm living right now. And well, I pray to God that one day I'll be able to have a job where I'm not, working constantly throughout the day.